my first two features here. I've obviously beat this to death. It's not on Blu-ray, Psychotropic, but in a lot of the special features I talk about this film in Hock and Staying There, which is even more insane, by the way. We have Roxy Music here, obviously For Your Pleasure, probably their best album, although my French friend Eric from Marseille, Siren, I think Siren is their best album, but this is brilliant. Relates to this. Psychotropic in the special features, I talk about how this is even more insane, literally. This film, quickly to cut right to it, this is like being in the mind of a serial killer before he goes on his first spree. This film is crazy, okay? I'm right in the middle of it. You'll see scenes where almost in every scene there's coke on a mirror. Actually, it's my degree from Marquette. There's coke on the mirror. Someone's usually doing it. There's a bong in almost every shot. Not just smoking weed. Usually it's smoking shrooms, psilocybin shrooms, the shake and breaking it up. There's always a bottle of either Glenfiddich or Glenlivet. Research I do later on a project I was writing. Almost every serial killer you can think of. Okay, almost every single one. The greatest hits: John Wayne Gacy, Richard Speck, Henry Lee Lucas, Ed Kemper, Ed Gein, Jeffrey Dahmer. They all have alcoholism in their story. And this is drenched in it. It's insane. Filmmaker James Fotopoulos, how that was an apt comparison. I remember listening to him talking on Zero. He says he didn't know how the system worked, right? Meaning getting into festivals. Well, when you find out, let me know. Implying that there is a thing to it. And so, he was able to, to get in there and then get his films noticed, and then that led to facets. Because this did not get into some festivals, then this did not get into any real notoriety. And this, as well as Into the Chasm, were really intriguing, sophisticated films in some way, cutting away to an alter ego. It ostensibly starts as a documentary about the indie film scene. I interviewed many kind of icons of underground film. David "The Rock" Nelson, Jay Bonansinga's in there, who ended up writing The Killer's Game, the novel that the movie was based on with Dave Bautista. But he was also a filmmaker and ended up co-writing with Robert Kirkman the graphic novel The Walking Dead, as the stories had to progress. So he became, pretty big, and there was a lot of great things. And then basically my character goes on a murderous spree to get back against all the people he thinks wronged him. It's crazy, man. It's on a whole nother level, the film. It really does succeed on many levels, and, getting it, from a cult standpoint, it was really hard for me to watch after a while. It really was. It is highly disturbing. There are a lot of things. I got about 40 minutes in. Mike Williams of Red Scream Studios, follow him on Facebook. He said, Psychotropic is like being in a punk house party at 4 a.m. The film feels like it's on something, that it feels like it's been edited with a switchblade, dripping chemicals, and all that. And that perfectly describes this film. He did review this and said, made the comparison that filmmaking is like drawing a syringe and shooting it up like an addiction, because that's imbued in this. He caught on to quite this insane level of it, but it's out there. Again, as I mentioned, the David "The Rock" Nelson element, he's really funny. Like I said, it's a documentary that kind of swerves into this kind of murderous spree. And, again, because there was not the exposure for Psychotropic, no one really wanted to take a chance on this. There's some uncleared music, obviously. The thought was that I was going to just make it the best film I possibly could and deal with that later. Maybe get someone interested, post funding. Joe Carnahan made his film Blood, Guts, Bullets, and Octane through Next Wave. They provided the finishing funds, and I thought maybe I could, do something like this. And I thought it had a lot of problems, but there was nothing like it. Still nothing like it. It was kind of making fun of a little bit of the Tarantino thing, and people trying to just, instead of being creative and doing their own thing, they were kind of aping other filmmakers. And There was this woman at Next Wave, Tara Veneruso, who was like, "Yeah, I just don't understand why you're not just doing what the alter ego said. Make one of those cutting edge kind of feel." Like she totally didn't get the fucking film, and it sounded like when I talked with her, I was arguing with her. But it's like you don't understand. I'm kind of mocking this thing of just aping style and whatever. I'm trying to do something different and original, and what comes through on that sometimes is originality is not rewarded. Now, obviously, the film had some problems, but I'm telling you, if you're interested in these kind of obscure, kind of cult films that have something different and unique, I mean, I'll put this up against any one of these so-called, SOV serial killer films, like Eric Stanzi stuff, Scrapbook, or some of these other films. This thing will rattle your cage. Trust me. Give it a shot. In Hock and Staying There, you